You think you're the victim in this story, don't you? You've convinced yourself that when someone walks away from you, they're the cruel one, the selfish one, the one who abandoned you when you needed them most. But what if I told you that your pain isn't really about them leaving? What if the agony you feel when someone decides to step away is actually the mirror cracking, and for the first time, you're seeing your own reflection without the comfortable distortion you've grown accustomed to? Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." But here's what Jung didn't say directly. What truly devastates us isn't the loss of the person. It's the loss of the psychological function they served. The executioner's blade that cuts deepest isn't the one that severs the relationship. It's the one that reveals how much of your identity was built on someone else's presence. You see, when someone walks away, they don't just leave a void in your external world. They expose the void that was always there, the one you've been desperately trying to fill with their energy, their validation, their mere existence. And that realization, that's what really makes you bleed. Let me introduce you to a concept that will make you deeply uncomfortable: Jung's theory of psychological projection. According to Jung, we don't see people as they are. We see them as we need them to be. We project onto others the missing pieces of ourselves, the qualities we lack, the functions we cannot perform alone. When someone becomes essential to your emotional stability, you haven't fallen in love with them, you've fallen in love with your own projection. They become the screen onto which you project your unmet needs, your unhealed wounds, your unconscious desires. And here's where it gets truly disturbing: you never really knew them at all. Jung called this the shadow, the parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge, the aspects of our psyche we find too uncomfortable to face. But here's the twist: when someone walks away, they're not just removing themselves from your life, they're removing the projection screen, and suddenly you're forced to confront your own shadow. Think about it. When was the last time someone left you, and your first instinct wasn't to blame them? When did you immediately turn inward and ask, what part of me was I trying to find in them? Never, right? Because that would require you to admit something terrifying: that your attachment wasn't love, it was psychological dependency. Jung understood that most people live their entire lives avoiding this confrontation with their shadow. They move from relationship to relationship, job to job, friendship to friendship, always seeking someone new to carry their projections. But when someone walks away, really walks away, they force you into what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole, and most people would rather stay broken than face that journey. Now let's dissect what actually happens in your psyche when someone decides to leave. Brace yourself, this isn't going to be comfortable. Your first reaction isn't sadness, it's narcissistic injury. How dare they? Don't they know how much you need them? Don't they understand their importance in your life? Notice how your initial response is about you. It's about your needs, your pain, your sense of being wronged. This isn't love. This is ego protection. Jung identified this as the ego's desperate attempt to maintain its constructed reality. When someone walks away, they're essentially saying, your version of me, the one that serves your psychological needs, is not who I am, and your ego cannot tolerate that level of reality. Then comes the bargaining. You'll promise to change, to be different, to give them whatever they need. But here's the psychological truth. Jung would have recognized immediately you're not bargaining to keep them, you're bargaining to keep your projection alive. You're negotiating with your own shadow. This is where the desperation becomes truly pathetic. You'll debase yourself, abandon your principles, reshape your entire personality, all to prevent someone from walking away. But ask yourself this: if you have to become someone else to keep them, were they ever really with you in the first place? When bargaining fails, the rage begins. And this rage is illuminating because it reveals the truth about your attachment. You're not angry because you love them, you're angry because they've disrupted your psychological equilibrium. They've refused to continue serving as your emotional crutch. your validation source, your projected ideal. Jung would call this shadow projection. You're projecting your own capacity for abandonment, your own selfishness, your own cruelty onto them. How could they be so heartless, you ask? Never recognizing that you're describing your own shadow qualities. Finally comes the depression, the crushing weight of emptiness. But here's what Jung understood, that most people don't. This depression isn't about missing them. It's about facing the emptiness. That was always there, the void you've been trying to fill with someone else's presence. This is your shadow calling. It's saying, look at me, face me, integrate me. But most people would rather stay depressed than do the work of individuation. They'd rather remain victims than become whole. Here's where we get to the part that will make you want to stop watching. Ready? You didn't just allow someone to become essential to your emotional stability, you engineered it. You systematically made yourself dependent on their presence, their approval, their energy. And you did it unconsciously, driven by psychological forces you refuse to acknowledge. Jung called this the participation mystique, the unconscious identification with another person. You literally lose the boundaries between yourself and them. Their mood becomes your mood. Their presence becomes your peace. Their absence becomes your hell. But here's the truly disturbing part. You chose this. Not consciously, perhaps, but you chose it nonetheless. You chose dependency over independence. You chose projection over reality. You chose psychological comfort over psychological growth. And now, when they walk away, you want to blame them for refusing to continue enabling your psychological dependency. You want to cast them as the villain in a story where you're the one who created the prison? Let me ask you something that will cut deep. How many times have you stayed in situations, relationships, or dynamics that were slowly killing your soul because walking away felt too uncomfortable? How many times have you chosen the familiar dysfunction over the unknown possibility of growth? When someone walks away from you, they're doing what you've been too afraid to. They're choosing their psychological freedom over your psychological comfort. And that's what really makes you rage. Jung believed that the ultimate goal of human psychological development was individuation becoming whole, integrating all aspects of the psyche, including the shadow. But here's what he knew that most people don't. Individuation requires you to face the parts of yourself you've been projecting onto others. When someone walks away, they're offering you a gift you don't want to receive. The opportunity to reclaim your projections and integrate your shadow. But instead of taking this gift, you do everything in your power to avoid it. You find someone new to carry your projections. You create drama to avoid the inner work. You blame, you rage, you play victim anything to avoid facing the uncomfortable truth that you've been using other people as psychological crutches. Jung understood that most people would rather stay unconscious than face the work of becoming whole. They'd rather repeat the same patterns, make the same mistakes, experience the same pain over and over again than do the terrifying work of self-integration. But here's the shadow truth you don't want to face every time someone walks away and you fail to do the inner work. You become more dependent, more needy, more psychologically fragmented. You become less capable of genuine love and more capable of psychological vampirism. You become the person people need to walk away from. Let's talk about something truly disturbing: how you unconsciously manipulate others to stay. Jung understood that the human psyche is capable of incredible manipulation, especially when it comes to maintaining psychological dependencies. You use guilt. How can you leave me when I need you most? You use fear. You'll never find anyone who loves you like I do. You use shame. I've given you everything, and this is how you repay me. You use promises. I'll change. I'll be different. Just don't go. But here's the psychological truth Jung would have recognized. These aren't expressions of love, they're expressions of psychological desperation. You're not fighting for them, you're fighting for your projection. You're not trying to keep a person, you're trying to keep your psychological crutch. And the most disturbing part? You've convinced yourself that this manipulation is love. You've told yourself that your inability to let go is a testament to your devotion. But Jung would have seen it for what it really is: the ego's desperate attempt to avoid individuation. When someone walks away despite your manipulation, they're not being cruel, they're being psychologically healthy. They're refusing to enable your psychological dependency. They're choosing their own individuation over your comfort. And that's what makes you hate them. Here's what Jung understood about human nature: that most people spend their entire lives avoiding the people who walk away from you are often reflecting your own capacity for abandonment back to you. Think about it. When was the last time you stayed in a situation that was slowly destroying your soul? When was the last time you chose comfort over growth? When was the last time you abandoned yourself to keep someone else comfortable? The people who walk away are doing what you've been too afraid to do. They're choosing their psychological freedom over the familiar comfort of dysfunction. And seeing them do what you cannot do, that's what really devastates you. Jung called this the mirror effect. We hate in others what we cannot face in ourselves. When someone walks away, they're holding up a mirror that shows you your own capacity for self-abandonment, your own psychological cowardice, your own unwillingness to choose growth over comfort. And instead of using this mirror for self-reflection, you smash it. You blame them. You vilify them. You make them the enemy so you don't have to face the uncomfortable truth they're reflecting back to you. But here's what Jung knew: the mirror doesn't lie. And no matter how many times you smash it, it will keep appearing in different forms, with different people, until you're ready to face what it's showing you. So here we are, at the end of our journey into the shadow of abandonment. And now you have a choice to make. You can continue living in the comfortable illusion that your pain is about other people leaving you. You can keep playing the victim, keep blaming others for your psychological wounds, keep repeating the same patterns that drive people away. Or you can do the work that Jung knew was the most important work of a human life. You can face your shadow, integrate your projections, and begin the process of individuation. You can stop using other people as psychological crutches. You can stop projecting your unmet needs onto others. You can stop making your emotional stability dependent on someone else's presence. You can become whole. But here's the final uncomfortable truth: most of you won't do this work. You'll watch this video, feel temporarily enlightened, maybe even share it with someone else. But when push comes to shove, when someone else walks away, you'll fall back into the same patterns, the same blame, the same psychological dependency. Because the work of individuation is terrifying. It means facing the void within yourself instead of trying to fill it with someone else. It means taking responsibility for your own psychological wholeness instead of making others responsible for your emotional stability. It means growing up. So I'll leave you with Jung's words. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. The question is, are you brave enough to face the person you've been avoiding in the mirror? Or will you continue making others responsible for your psychological wounds? The choice, as always, is yours, but choose wisely. Because the people who walk away, they're not your enemy. They're your teachers. And the lesson they're teaching you is the most important one. You'll ever learn how to be whole without needing someone else to complete you. Closing 4000. The void doesn't define you. It frees you. If you're ready to face your shadow, to do the work of individuation, to stop using others as psychological crutches, then you're ready to begin the most important journey of your life. The journey back to yourself.